Ambassador Ana Yance Rodriguez was unable to attend, and with the deadlines, we weren't sure if she was going to be in the country or not, but we were very lucky, and we have a great discussion with the first Secretary of the Cuban Mission in the United States, Rolando Vergara, who's a compañero that's been working with solidarity groups and has very important experiences, and I'll just highlight one, which is that Rolando was part of the team that helped organize the Cuban intervention, the decisive intervention in West Africa, fighting the Ebola epidemic in 2014. And Rolando was part of that delegation that organized that, which I think history will show, and has already shown, was the decisive factor in reversing and defeating that epidemic in West Africa. And so I think we want to give a special appreciation. The format today is going to be very simple. There's another, I don't know, thanks to the Left Forum organizers, had us right next door to another panel on Cuba, which is on Cuban medical care. And one of the people on our panel, Gail Walker, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, is also going to be shuttling back and forth. But our basic format today is sort of informal. This is going to be like a sort of a free speech forum on the question of Cuba. We're going to discuss, and we'll have a back and forth informally. I'll call on people. Ask your questions on any subject. There's a lot of questions about Cuba that are on people's minds. You know, what's happening with the economic reforms, what's the state of U.S.-Cuban relations, the legacy of Fidel Castro. You know, any questions that you want to ask, and I'm sure people have all kinds of different opinions, especially in a broad left forum like this. We want to discuss and get people's points of view. Whatever you want to say, Rolando will address them. People from the audience can address them. I'm asking only that people, especially in the initial rounds as we get going, that you keep your remarks to like within 2 or 3 minutes. You can make a comment if you want to ask a straight up question, whatever, but try to keep within those limits so we can keep the discussion flowing, and questions that come up, people can address them, and we'll be flexible on it. Let me just say, in terms of, to sort of kick the thing off, that we all know that that right now we're at a interesting conjuncture in U.S.-Cuba relations. We know that the historic bipartisan U.S. economic and political war, as Fidel Castro put it, against Cuba, that has lasted now for almost 6 decades, has undergone a lot of contradictions and developments as it's unfolded in the last few years. We know that the Obama administration, reflecting a sort of somewhat demoralized consensus in the U.S. ruling class, has retreated significantly in December 2014, where that was codified, where formal diplomatic relations a few months later, after the announcements by Presidents Raul Castro and Barack Obama, that diplomatic relations were formally restored between the United States and Cuba. Although we all know, and I think probably everybody in this room knows, I see a lot of familiar faces, that as the UN puts it in its annual vote condemning it, the U.S. economic, commercial, and financial embargo against Cuba is almost completely still in place and intact, despite this retreat. So now the new Trump administration, they known for shooting off and speaking out, whatever, undiplomatically, whatever, on almost any subject under the sun, has been relatively circumspect on the issue of Cuba for many, many months. Well, for the 4 months, for some people it may seem like 4 years, of the Trump administration. And only now, because with this UN vote coming up, we know that they have to take a position. Last year, the Obama administration abstained on the vote. So for the first time, the vote in the UN was formally unanimous, you know, because Israel followed suit and abstained. Israel had voted with the UN as for many, many years, the last two votes in support of the U.S. position, even though Israel, parenthetically, itself has very somewhat flourishing trade and no travel sanctions or anything like that against Cuba itself. But so this year, now we're starting to see a few articles in the press, some leaks or whatever, that there's an intense debate. There was a big article in the New York Times, people might have read a few days ago, that the review that Trump has been saying is U.S. policy is being undergoing over the last period, that this review is supposedly going to now result. We're going to see some shifts, and the rumors are that they're going to restrict some of the travel expansions that have taken place under Obama's relaxation of regulations and things like that. So we're going to see that, and that's one of the things we can discuss tonight. But at this moment, we know from our point of view, and we're so happy to have a representative of Cuba so that they can speak to themselves, take your questions on all the things. We know that the position of Cuba in the world and in world politics is way disproportionate to their size as a country because of the tremendous political weight of the Cuban Revolution that it impacts on the world morally, politically, and so on. And this is something that for us, as most of us here, I guess, attending the Left Forum, consider ourselves socialists of one kind or another, that we know that Cuba represents that banner and those ideas, the ideas of solidarity, internationalism in the world. So let me, again, welcome our friend Rolando, and we're going to open it up for discussion right now. So thank you for coming, Rolando. I'm going to chair this meeting, but I'm going to call on everybody. Again, please keep your comment, or let's have Rolando give a few opening words, actually, that you can just kick it off, and then we'll open it up for discussion. Is that okay? Okay, great. So go ahead, Rolando, and have a seat.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yes, because I prefer to feel more comfortable to speak with you, because I feel that we are loudly. Okay, I will try to do my best. Okay, because I prefer to speak with friends. It's different. It's not a conference.
We're friends.
You are our friends, the Cuban friends, and also the friend of the left. It's different to speak. If I want to speak with Cuba, I know there are so many people here that really know what happened in Cuba. We are a blockade country for almost 60 years. So, and almost 60 years we suffered. I believe that's the most criminal blockade against one country that you can feel. But because it's not only the impact in the economy, it's the impact in the social, it's the impact in our citizens, it's the impact in our, okay, I think that, yeah, it's okay, sorry. No, it's okay.
I wish we had a mic, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay. It's better now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we suffer a blockade for almost 60 years, and due to a lot of impact in not only our economy, even in our society, in our citizens, in our medicine, in our health, in our educational system. But Cuba, in more than 59 years, almost 60 years of revolution, we built a society. We built a society with principles. The principles that we learned for our commander-in-chief, Fidel Castro, the principles that we learned for Raúl Castro. Yesterday was the Raúl's birthday. Oh, 86 years.
Wow.
Okay, 86. Okay, and that's that we learned. We learned some principles related in focus in the internationalism, in the free and the rights of our citizens. For that reason, we have our educational system is totally free. Our health system is totally free. And that is something that we want to share with the rest of the countries. For that reason, we have almost 60, 75 doctors cooperations in more than, we have a medical cooperation in almost 75 countries around the world, in Africa, in Latin America, in South America, and even we have the experience here, you know, with the Katrina's hurricane effect in New Orleans, and we decided to send the Henry Reef Brigade, the same brigade that a week ago received a WHO prize from the cooperation in West Africa related with the Ebola. So, and we want our president, Fidel Castro at the moment, say to Bush, we can send, how many doctors do you want to help New Orleans, to help the citizens, to prevent so many diseases? And till this moment, we are still waiting for the answer. Yeah, it's the reality. Because we learn to give that we have, not to give that we have enough. So that is our principle. The principle to everybody have the possibility to do the same, to be in the same way, to be free, to have a good society, to have a good principle. We are not 100%, how am I going to say, a perfect country, because we have some issues that we have to deal. But imagine if Cuba doesn't have the blockade, what we can do. Imagine that. We have we developed so many things in the biotechnology that you can use here, because the blockade don't only affect the Cuban citizens, also affect the United States citizens. Here in the United States, every year, 70,000 person lose a part of his body for the diabetes. And in Cuba, we make it's like a medicine that we know, like an Everpro-P, that is help to prevent that happens, and we can send this medicine to here. Also, we have a vaccine against the cancer, and you can against cancer, lung cancer, and you can use it here because this same blockade. The blockade affects so many things in our society. For example, if we want to buy a medicine for our kids, it's one of our hospitals, we can buy it here in the United States. We can buy it in China, we can buy it in European countries, and it's difficult. It's really difficult for us because we only have 90 miles from the United States. And imagine, if you want to buy a vaccine, it's only 2 hours or 3 hours in the flight. So we have to buy in other countries, we have to deal with the blockade. We have maybe to wait a week, maybe a month. And what happened with that kid in the hospital? That is something that we have to deal every day. Many people say the blockade is over because now you can travel to Cuba, you can go, but the license is still there. You have to travel under the license to travel to Cuba. And they say, okay, you go to Cuba for what? For vacation, to what? No, I went with the license. It's impossible because you have the right to go to Cuba, to know what Cuba is, and to do whatever you want in Cuba. The blockade is still there. Cuba can use the US dollar in the international transactions. It's difficult for us because we can deal with any bank. Here in the United States, we only can deal with one bank. It's the Stonegate Bank in Florida. But here in New York, it's difficult. Even our diplomatic have the restriction of 25 miles of movement here in New York. So we can speak here in New York with the solidarity movement, maybe in Chicago, in other countries, because we have the restriction of 25 miles. So it's the thing that we have to deal. Hopefully, we have the very good friends, like the solidarity movement. The solidarity movement here in New York, in the rest of the world, is really strong. Yeah, thanks for your support. You always do it very well. Because thanks to you, our commander-in-chief, Fidel, in their first trips to the United States, they were accepted. He was accepted for you. He met with you. And when he returned in 2000 and 2005, he said, oh, I would like to see my friends of the Solidarity. I would like to see my friends in Harlem. Because those were the people who really gave me their hands when I came here in the first. We respect the United States citizens. We respect the people of the United States. Because you are really good. You have to deal with so many things. And also, you support. I don't know if I may I do this.
No,
say
it's
something.
an appreciative laugh.
That's okay. Well, I just want to oh, it's okay. I say that we want to say thank you for your support for so many years. I know that we have to increase so many things because we need to teach the young generations, like the lady. We have to teach that the blockade is still there. We have to teach that we have a poor country, but it's not the responsibility. We have the interest to help the rest of the world, to help the rest of the humanity. Because we are against the terrorism acts. We are against the drugs. We are against all the social, to the evil social things that you can see in the one society, because it's helped to corrupt the society from the bottom, and it's difficult. We have to work with the young generations. We have to keep working with all of us in order to increase the knowledge. In order to increase our knowledge, to show what Cuba represents, what Cuba does. And also, we have to do so many things, because now we are dealing with the new United States president, as you know. So we will always be open to the world. Cuba always been there. We have our folder to the investment in Cuba since so many years ago, and you can do it. All the economics and all the person once they can do some treatment with Cuba, so international. But with the blockade, that is impossible. It's impossible for the blockade. For that reason, now they say, "Whoa, Cuba is open." No, Cuba has always been there, but the blockade interrupt this connection. Now, since 2014, with the President Obama and our President Raúl Castro announced a new diplomatic era, a new era of the diplomatic relationship. Some people say, okay, now it's going to change. Cuba is going to change. Cuba is going to be like Cancun. It's going to be like, I don't know, some other countries. But I would like to tell you that it's not going to be.
Good.
Yes, because I only have 35 years, so I'm younger. I born with the revolution. I grew up with a special period. That is it was a really tough period in Cuba, and we don't want to return to that moment. We don't want to return to the capitalism. It's difficult because my father is black and my mom is white. But imagine in the capitalism, yeah, my mom, my grandmother is black. Before the revolution, she had to cook for so many people who works around her home. Before the revolution, she can't read. She has to cook, she has to iron clothing before the revolution. before the 1959, right? He learned to read. He don't have to do anything else for the street. She have a job. So that is the way that we don't have to return. We don't want to look back to see the capitalism and the impact in the society. Because you need to travel to Cuba to see what I can do, and what I can try to show you. Because we don't have this. No, I grew up with the rest of the kids. There's no, I don't know how to say clase social. Pay por favor. Social class. Social class. Every year we graduate almost $10,000. Imagine, and they don't have to pay a penny for their career. I'm studied first as a lawyer in the University of Havana. After that, I start to make a master's degree in the foreign relationships in the Institute of the International Relationship in Havana, and I don't have to pay anything for my career. My kid doesn't have to pay anything, and that is something that we want to keep. We want to keep. We grew up in the basis of, as I mentioned before, of principles, in the basis of the humanitarian relationship with the rest of the world, and we don't want to lose that. And we never lose that. I feel comfortable if you maybe some questions, and then we can maybe make a dialogue between us. It's better for us, better for me. Okay, thank you.
I told you Gail Walker would like to welcome from IFCO Pastors for Peace. Co-chair this while she may be shuttling back and forth to the other one that they scheduled in their wisdom right next to us. But Gail, I think people know IFCO Pastors for Peace is one of the oldest and most venerated solidarity organizations in the United States that has wonderful programs. Many of you may participate in things like the Caravan, the sponsorship of the medical stool pro. So Gail's going to say a couple things, and then we're going to get right into people's comments. And I just want to say one other thing before Gail says a couple of words, is that some of us just got back from Cuba, I know, for May Day celebrations. And I tell you, you see the reality of when we were there at May Day, and some of us in the International Solidarity Movement were on the reviewing stand of the podium, and you see on over 1 million Cuban workers, not in some forced dragoon march, but with joy and with, every sector of the Cuban. This was the fighting Cuban working class. And John Flanders over here from Albany is a solidarity activist. We filmed it, and it was like over a football length in field in width. And for an hour and 45 minutes, columns of Cuban workers from every sector of Cuban society. I mean, the ballet school contingent had their pirouetting workers on placards. This is the real Cuba. Of course, the U.S. media, before the march, one dissident came running out with an American flag, and followed by 1 million workers after they hustled him off of the thing. And of course, that was the lead article in the Miami Herald that day. But anyway, so Gail.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say hello.
Hello.
Apologies. Hi, Arl. All these great faces and funny. Just wanted to say hi. I'm sorry I was late. I was silly. Decided to drive. I'm sorry. Fessing up. But yeah, but I just came back from Cuba myself, not with the May Day delegation, but with a trip down to talk to our friends about the next caravan, the upcoming group of medical school students that are going down. Got a chance to meet with our friends at ECAP, Fernando's. Now in Namibia, everybody's running and busy, and I guess I just wanted to say that I was there, as the announcement that, the imminent announcement that Trump is going to be making toward his policy around Cuba, but the spirit, the tenacity is, as strong as ever. We know that the members of the Cuban delegation, not only our brother Rolando, but the my brother Rolando and the Ambassador Cabañas and Rodriguez and others have been out and about and really, I think, putting a very positive face on Cuba. And we, this year, the caravan had an opportunity to organize the U.S. part of our caravan earlier. So we were in different U.S. cities, about 38 different cities, 48, the numbers start to jumble, but a lot of states, a lot of cities, and visiting with members of Congress and their staff people. But just trying to really let it be known that we're not going to stand by idly, and no matter what it is that Trump kind of comes up with, that there is a serious and robust Cuba solidarity movement, not only in the U.S. but internationally, and just on our behalf reiterating that when we met with our friends in Cuba. So it's, I think, an interesting time. I think it's really a time when it's going to allow us as friends of Cuba to really come forward and be able to express solidarity, give a strong face to solidarity, particularly in light of whatever it is that Trump comes up with. A lot of speculation as to what that might be, but the point is that our work is as strong as ever, and I think not only on outside of Cuba, but inside of Cuba as well. So that's my 2 cents. I know you're in great hands. You've been hearing from some good resources, as well as us in this room, just looking around. A lot of people who have done so much work in the area of Cuba solidarity. So apologies for being late. Just wanted to say greetings, and anything I can add to the conversation, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, Gail. Okay, so now we're going to open it up. So let's just raise your hand. I'll call on you. Try to keep it within 2-3 minutes, and then we'll take it from there. All the way on, first you next to you, and then you right here, and you two. Go ahead.
I have multiple questions. My heart.
Speak loud.
Stand up.
I have multiple questions. A statement, how much Fidel, Raul, Cuba matters very much when we examine what is swirling around all of us, the global fascism and genocides and femicides that are occurring, and what Cuba, and I would argue Venezuela, and some countries of Africa could very much provide leadership. Because as they stroll these streets and brush and sweep genocide under the rug, and femicide, wisdom, knowledge, and distract all of us with shadow economies and austerity, we've got to remember that the fight back must always continue. And that is the lessons of those that are authentically revolutionary. It's the same as when I tell folks, everywhere I go, you want to tell me how many kids I have and where I should live. Well, you sit at that circus table under those carnival lights with clowns ensnared from blame. But I remember this man saying he would never pay that price, and Madiba saying he would never pay that price, and Fidel, who always answered the call of humanitarianism, and I could learn from him, because they say I get crabby, but yet my government, as a form of retaliation, keeps me homeless and denies me health coverage a year. Or when I try applying Havana's school, and the library computer prevents it. Or I try applying for the caravan, and the library computer prevents it. Or they tell me where I could apply locally, and it's the wrong location, but everybody says they can't help me. That's not liberation. That is oppression. And when I'm there, I consider the prisoners that are there supposedly not being monitored using those computers, or how they're automating schools globally and nationally. What that means, because knowledge is power. And when folks attempt controlling knowledge, they harm knowledge. And Fidel knows that. I have a question. How do we as a movement,
Finally.
how do we as a movement balance, because we're all being polarized very much, the genocide of South America continues being swept under the rug, and it's all because of previous fascism, Iran-Contra, and previous, the 1950s, those darn key Nazis keep swirling around. How do we balance, the established politicians as they start supporting Southern Democrats who are wearing guns at church? No, I have a
3
question.
minutes, 3 minutes.
Perez, as the
Get to your
leader of the
question, please.
Democratic movement, and then we have literally conservative, violent rhetoric that represents.
Can you wrap it up, please?
How do we balance that as a movement and continue leading a movement of revolution and liberation?
Sister, thank you. I'm going to take 3 questions, and then the panel will respond. So right here, go ahead. And 3 minutes. I'm going to call you out after about 2.5 minutes. To everybody.
Rolando, can you please tell us your full name again, please?
My full name?
Yes.
What's the-
Vergara.
You forgot?
No, not forgot. It's difficult maybe for you. It's Rolando, Vergara,
Vergara.
Zito,
Zito con C?
con Z.
Z. Oh, Zito.
Habla
And
español,
what
qué
is
bien.
your position?
Sí, habla español.
And your position is?
First Secretary
Of what?
of the Cuban Mission to the United Nations.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, is that it? Okay, right over here?
On this side.
Okay, I'll get to this side, don't worry. Everybody will be called on, don't worry.
To ask you about some of the progress and challenges in agriculture in Cuba, challenges of producing food or even being able to trade for food, and people working the land, what some of the steps forward and challenges are in that sphere.
Okay, since this sister over here didn't really ask a question, I'll move over here to you. Yes. The third person, and then we'll respond.
Just to let you know, there is another country that supports Cuba and has done since the revolution, and that is Canada. And we have had a tremendous support mechanism, started with the Fair Play for Cuban Committee, and I was fortunate enough to get down to Cuba in 1965 and met Robert Williams, which Cuba was tremendous in supporting. My question, though, is, having also visited Venezuela in the time of Hugo Chavez, I'm very concerned, obviously, about, as everybody here is, about what's happening in Venezuela right now. And I'm wondering if you can give me some idea of must have a huge impact on Cuba, what's happening there, and if you have any political perspectives. I mean, I know you've had lots of people go there, but what do you think of it?
Thank you.
situation?
You want to
Thank
respond to these?
Okay. Related with the first question with the lady, how do we support and balance the movement, the solidarity movement? Well, I think that the first things that we have to do to balance the movement. First, we're talking about the solidarity movement. First, we have to translate, to teach to the young generations. That is the first things that we need in order to balance the solidarity movement. First is the reality, because the young people that we have in the 60s, in the 70s, we are now here. Yeah, it's the reality, okay? And we need to do something in order to teach to the young generations, to give them the tools that they need, the real tools, not the media, not that they look on the internet, and it's related also with Venezuela, because if you see all the medias related first with Trump administration, with the terrorism, with the Venezuela, they try to manipulate everything, and we need to do something with the young generations. We need to do how that we can bring them to our principles. It's difficult. It's no easy. It's no easy. It's real. Because we need to move. We need to show us attractive for them. Because everybody now is with a cell phone, with the internet, with the computer, with the laptops, and if I want to speak with Gail, is next to me, I send a text message. No, it's the reality. No, it's not. It's different. It's the reality. And Gail is next to me. And if I want to speak with her first, I tell you, you have Facebook? Why Facebook? She's next to me, or even you. It's difficult. So that is something that we have. I don't say that we have to. We can use the social medias. I don't say that, but we need to touch.
Yes.
Also, we need to speak with us. We have so many solidarity movement here in New York, and now because you are Puerto Ricans, you have Canadians, you are so many countries, and you can speak with your colleagues in those countries, and that is the way that you can do solidarity. That is the way that you can do so many things, not even for Cuba, for so many countries. It's different, and also you can use the media now because it's the technology. But if you speak with Ike or with Gay, I tell, okay, Gay, I think that we can do this, we can say that, we can teach, we can make this program, and it's different because she can answer me, we can debate everything, and that's all that we can do to make a balance in the solidarity movement around the world, because the solidarity is always there. The solidarity only needs a person with principles, a person who wants to think what is the right to do. That's the solidarity. Related with the agriculture in Cuba, well, we have to look back in the special period with the agriculture in Cuba, because first we developed so many the agriculture in Cuba, but in the province, so many provinces in Cuba, but we not plant so many things that the Cuban citizen needs. When the special period, in the special period, we have to deal to increase and to improve so many ways of agriculture in Cuba. Now we have that we call organopónicos. They are special of mini farms in the middle of the city that we can plant. I work in the organoponic in the high school. Yes, because during the period in the high school, even in the university, you have to help. It's a way to teach the young generation that how you can do your best also for the society in the place that you are going to study. So we work in the organoponic, and in this special mini farm, you can buy so many things that you need. And also we have to increase so many other ways of agriculture in some other province to plant. We start to plant things that we need, and for that reason we have a 100% organic food in Cuba. Yes. We have 100% organic food. We have a 100% organic meat. So because it's healthy. It's healthy in the society. You don't add some chemicals. You don't add some other things that in a way is hard for the citizens. For that reason, we make all the organic food, and we have to increase the agriculture. We have highest level of literacy, but we need people also who works the land. Yeah, and now we are dealing with that. You can buy rice in so many. You have to buy rice in China, in other countries. It's 4 months by cheap, but you can plant rice in Cuba.
Do you produce rice?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take another round of discussions. Or another question on Venezuela. Do you want to respond to that?
Yes.
Okay.
One more question for Venezuela, the lady. Well, the situation of Venezuela is worrying for not only for Cuba, even for the rest of the world. Even as we mentioned, is related with the contra-revolutionary or anti-Chavista group to deal with that in that country, and we have to follow. We have to follow what happened there. They are now the President Maduro takes some measures. They work for the Constituyente and an assembly, and we have to wait. Well, they have the support of so many countries on the region. Even in the United Nations, they have the help for Venezuela. We have to wait what happened there.
Okay, I'm going to take this person right here, you, Arnold, and then in the back, and then this sister right here, right in the middle clump. I'll get to you too, don't worry. So what, and again, keep it within 2 or 3 minutes, please.
30 seconds. It's not a question, just with regards to that question, Venezuela, for Americans to find out what is happening in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
You can have access to televisor.net/English. Televisor English.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone, it's very easy to follow.
What's
Telesur.net.
English, or might as well put up televisor.net.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, it's not TV of televisor.net, because in English it's not television. Televisor.net/English. Or Google, just Google televisor.
Mm-hmm.
You have minute-to-minute updates of what is happening in Venezuela with very high-quality video, documentaries, analysis, and opinion. You can't go wrong with that to get the other side of the medal as to what is happening in Venezuela.
Thank you.
And the most important related with that is the Arnold say, because you have to follow Telesur, because Telesur is the reality that is happening in Venezuela. It's different. It's no Univision. It's no so other CNN. Well, that will play, or even the internet. Even internet. You have to look the reality. That's different. It's like Cuba, because they say in Cuba there is no toilet paper. What happened with that? It's different. No. That is not the way to say there is a country. And that is the media. That's for. Thanks for.
Okay, right here, and then you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, my name is Martin Copel. My question is, has to do with Cuba and Puerto Rico, which Puerto Rico is very much in the news these days. And I remember that in the past, the U.S. government has objected to Cuba's support to the Puerto Rican independence struggle, and has even raised that as an objection to, or an obstacle to, having diplomatic relations with Cuba was Cuba's stance in support of the Puerto Rican struggle. And now, of course, we've seen the big victory with the release of Oscar Lopez after 36 years in U.S. prisons. And the smear campaign we saw in the media, the capitalist media here against those guys, so-called terrorists, which was got very effectively answered. But so, could you tell us a little bit about that history and today, where I saw that Raul sent a message of congratulations to Oscar Lopez, and Fernando Gonzalez, who was in prison with Oscar, has invited him to visit, I believe, Cuba in the coming months. So if you could tell us a little bit about that. Is that a question in terms of U.S.-Cuba relations, what Cuba's stance is for Puerto Rico?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, sister right here.
Yeah, a simple question about how the socialist economy works. If education is free and if healthcare is free, but teachers have to be paid and doctors and nurses have to be paid, what is the source of the money that the government uses to pay them?
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Two questions. Yes, Martin. Okay, Martin. Related with the Cuba-Puerto Rico relationships, I have to mention a phrase Jose Martin said. Cuba and Puerto Rico is for the same bird, the two wings. Yes, it's the same way, and that is one of our principles between the relationships, because the two countries. Every year we support at the United Nations the Comité de Descolonización. We support every year, and we support the Puerto Rican cause every year. For that reason, we were really focused in the Oscar Lopez Rivera, with the very well, in the principle of the, and he received a message, as you said before, for our president Raúl Castro. And I was in Cuba when Oscar Lopez was he come out of the jail, and I was in the CAP in a meeting there, and I was like, well, let's do this thing. It was really amazing because everybody start to make so many noise, because it's grateful. It's grateful for the people, for men who really fight for independence, who really was in jail for so many years, and now he's free. For that reason, we always support, and we do not only for Puerto Rico, only for in so many other countries, that they have the right to fight for the freedom. That is the principle of the Cuban Revolution, for the independence. Related with the lady payment of the, okay. So, I have to explain you related what Cuba is. I mentioned before what Cuba was before the revolution and what is now after the revolution. En la historia me resolverá. It's a book. It's the alegato, la defensa. Our commander-in-chief Fidel Castro. He mentioned the 8 principal problems that Cuba had at that moment: educational, the health system, the rent, electricity, the land, so many issues in Historia Mal Superada. When since the triumph of the revolution, Fidel, Cuban government start to work with these issues: the free land, the free health system, the free education. And that's some of our principle. We prefer to buy 10 tons of milk for our kids, in order to buy 3 helicopters to make war. It's different. It's different. We live so many years for the sugar, for the Cuban cane, for the sugar cane. After that, with the special period, we live now. We deal with the tourism. Till this moment, we have maybe almost 2.5 million till this moment. With the cooperations, with the medical cooperation, and we do so many issues that we can offer, and we, in contribution, receive other things. But the way is that I mentioned. If we have to support something in our society, is the health, is the education, for that reason we pay everything to the doctors. We don't have to the teachers, to all the levels of the society. That is the most important. It's the most important for it, because we have a democratic country. We have a very good country. No, it's not because I'm Cuban, because it's I feel in that way. Okay. I would like to.
Yes, this brother right here, go ahead, and then we'll take, go back to this end, Susan, and then this gentleman, brother here. So the next three right here, okay? Go ahead, Saul.
Well, when the revolution triumphed, I was.
You are from Canada?
Sorry?
Where are you from?
Argentina.
Argentina.
I was drafted in the army. When I went out and back to the university, we started immediately the solidarity with Cuba, forming the brigades and so on. Now, you talk about the achievements of the revolution, that we are all, or we should be familiar with them, because even the capitalist press recognizes some of them, with critics, of course. They don't have anything else to do. Now, when we were in Cuba in the year after Gorbachev resigned, so the middle of the special period, we were talking about somebody about China. And he told us, China has socialism puesto de cabeza, in mise, standing on its head. Now, so my question is, with the opening to foreign investment, with a kind of mixed economy at some level, kind of the new economic policy of Lenin, guarding the distance, what are the measures to preserve a socialist and construct the socialism?
Okay. A question about the new economic policies. Right over here.
Thank you. Three suggestions. One, the Latin American Working Group, LAWG, LAWG, has on its website 13 bills that are before the Congress that would have an influence on limiting the blockade and helping Cuba. This legislation is pending. Some of it is in committee in the Congress, and some of it is being written by Solidarity people who have some influence in the Congress. So go to LAWG, Latin American Working Group, and get to your Congress member and tell them about these legislative initiatives and ask for their support. Two, go to your bank. Ask the bank when we can use our credit cards in Cuba. We have to pressure them as their customers and say, now we're permitted to travel, we want to travel, when can we use our credit cards? Even up to saying, look, if I can't use my credit card where I'm permitted to travel, I'll go to another bank.
Right.
There's ways as consumers we can put pressure. Three, not the war on drugs, the public health policy to help heal addiction. Because Cuba has a very good policy against drugs, but a very high level of alcoholism. And if it's only a war on drugs, we're going to get trapped in the same blah, 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 excuse me, which targets for criminal penalty people who are sick, who get wrapped up, and the alcoholism is something. So that will be my question. How are we dealing in Cuba with the high level of alcohol abuse and the fact that here's a country with an inclusive healthcare system that exports tobacco and rum? Thank you.
Okay. Right over here, third question, and then we'll take three more.
I'd be interested to find out about what sources of energy Cuba uses, and are there any measures to utilize clean energy, such as solar or hydroelectric? You know, what percentage of that is clean energy? What percentage comes from oil or anything about that?
Okay, Rolando.
Sorry. Okay. Related with the investment that you mentioned, how do we protect our socialism. First, we don't sell anything.
Talk to the faculty.
Okay.
Thank
Speak
you.
louder. Yeah. Okay. First, we mentioned that we don't want and we don't sell any of our properties in Cuba. Okay. If you want to make an arrangement in order to build a hotel in Cuba, there is investment. There is an investment law approved our National Assembly of the Congress. They say that Cuba, the Cuban government or the Cuban state is going to be the owner of the 51 or 52% of that hotel. And you can manage the other 49, 48%, maybe for 10 years, 12 years after you return your investment. So that prevents first that we have the principal right to that building, that we can offer jobs for the Cubans, that we can not only protect our principles, not only protect our environment. That is something that we can do it with investment. Other things that we consider is important for any society to prevent our principle and the way of life and defend the conqueror is the history. You can forget your history. You can forget what happened in Cuba since 1968 when the independence war began in 1868 with Carlos Manuel de Céspedes, and how many Cubans died for our independence. You can forget your history. You can forget. And that is something that you have to repeat, to teach to the young generation. To have something that you can't forget, and it's important. And that is the way and the principle to sustain the capitalism, the socialism, because the socialism, in our socialism, is to defend our citizens, to defend our country, to defend our principles. For that reason, we took so many measures in order of that. Related with the hardcore level. Okay. I don't know. I don't have the exactly statistic, but I would tell you something. In Cuba, we don't sell alcohol to the young people. No, with the young with the young men. You have to have an age to buy alcohol in Cuba. We have zero tolerance with drugs, including marijuana. That is something that we deal with that. Zero tolerance. We don't accept, even we don't accept alcohol, as you mentioned, that we have the high level. Listen, I don't look in that way. They look in the way. Even if we have a tropical country, but even so, the people who visit Cuba drink more alcohol than the Cubans. I would mention that. Yeah, because they're looking for the hotels, they're looking for the rum, they're looking for the cigars. It's different. Related with the energy in Cuba. Okay, so as a blockade country, and in the middle of the special period, we have to start to use. We're starting to use some other funds or sources of energy, like the solar energy, with the water energy, with the gas. We use so many gas, because if you go to the oil refinery, you see the gas, they burn the gas. We use that gas. We use that gas to make electricity, to use it in some other sources that we need to do it. Also, to always prevent the environment. We sign the protocol, and we prevent. We take all the measures to prevent that don't lose our environment.
Before economic policies, which I think is something that's on everybody's mind in thinking about what's going on in Cuba today. And there is sort of a, you could call it a contradiction or not or whatever, but there's no question that objectively Cuba needs capital. Cuba needs investment in the sense of capital that is money or the form of geared towards investment to rebuild their industrial plant, to modernize. If you read the economic writings of Che, Fidel, whatever, you'll see that that was always, and this brother brought up Lenin's new economic policies. They've studied that period. They understand they need capital, that because of the special period, and they used foreign exchange that they get through medical services, which is their #1 foreign exchange earner, tourism, which is their #2 foreign exchange earner, from their biotechnological and all that, to get capital to not only to preserve the existing health and education systems, but also to rebuild. For example, the port of Mariel. You may have, some of the old timers here like me could remember Mariel was the port that a lot of, when they instigated the boat lift of people in the 80s or whatever. But now it is a modern port, one of the most modern state of the world, that they were able to get Brazilian, French, other capital. They were able to negotiate important things. Now, and this is the most important aspect of the new economic policies, which is almost totally obliterated in the coverage that you read in the Western capitalist media. For example, to them, the most important thing is the growth of mom and pop stores in Cuba. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing that, you know, if a barber's cooperative decides to pool their resources and set up a private restaurant or a small business owner, there's nothing wrong with that, and they have the freedom to do that. In fact, they have more government support in doing that than small, business owners in the United States probably have to do right now with monopolization and all that. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is, Rolando alluded to that with the agriculture question, the growth of family farms, incentives from the government to increase food production so that they become self-sufficient. And the most important thing is the growth of the industrial working class. This is the measure of the success of the economic policies in Cuba that the revolutionary government is implementing will be if, for example, at Mariel, now you have a whole layer of workers that are driving the trucks, that are bringing the goods, and this in industry, because there's steel industry needed. So they need capital for that. And they have very good negotiators and people that interchange with these foreign groups, big businesses and sometimes these small businesses. Somebody wants to set up a machine shop. So they need that. But at the same time, the challenge is to preserve the socialist ownership of the major means of production and finance. They have a monopoly of foreign trade, which is, you've studied the question of it. Lenin said that was the key to maintaining, was the monopoly of foreign trade, which they have. So these are all questions that are posed with the economic policies and what Cuba is trying to do as a socialist island in an ocean of an imperialist world and the world capitalist market. And that's the framework until there's revolutions, that succeed in coming to their aid, that they have to deal with and navigate within. Okay, next layer. We're going to go here, here, and then here, and we'll get everybody. So 1, 2, 3. Go ahead.
Before the questions.
Okay.
Before the questions, yes. I would like to explain something. Yeah, it's true. We need capital. We need capital. But we need first principles. It's different. You see? Because we need capital, because we need to still grow. But we analyze. First, if you want to make business with Cuba, we are going to analyze the real proposal of that business. It's different. Because you mentioned we need capital. Yes, we accept. No, yes, we accept. If you if you have first, you are in the topics on our investment, if you bring with the principles that we want to defend, and that is different. It's different. Yes, it's true, we need money. You need money. You need money to increase your society. But that is the second level. The first you can lose is that the colleague, the camarada say, it's different. You need to conserve your socialism. You need to prevent that you can lose that. But the question, please.
Thank you. Okay, so
Mr. Secretary, first, thanks for coming. It's very good to hear from you today. With regard to Cuba, I'm led to believe that people can't immigrate to Cuba. If someone wanted to go there from Mexico or Haiti or somewhere, that there's no immigration policy for that. And then secondly, when you talk about capital, how hard is it for a small investor to invest in Cuba? I'm not talking about a hotel, but a restaurant or a garage or something like that. Is that sort of small, hands-on investment possible?
Thank you. Did you have something? Oh, okay. Right over here?
Yes, a much more practical matter, particularly in terms of revenue generated, is that of healthcare providers. More and more people, not only from this country but across the world, are looking to Cuba for health care services because, number one, it's less expensive, and number two, Cuba has made so many medical advances than that of some Western countries, including the U.S., particularly in terms of glaucoma treatment or surgery, which is very important. It's a disease that's prevalent among African Americans. It's supposed to be genetically related. So how does, is that a revenue generating service that you're looking at, that you're publicizing? And I understand that the U.S. government does not stand in the way of that. And secondly, my question is, has Cuba or is Cuba able to get loans from the Chinese infrastructure bank that I know Europe is looking at in terms of its infrastructure building agenda? So those are my questions.
Thank you. Well, we could take one more. Right here. Go ahead, sister.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros hoy, de verdad. Mi pregunta tiene que ver con la relación entre la formación formal en las escuelas, ¿no?, y el sector de la economía. Hoy en día, no históricamente, sino ahora, cómo están cambiando las escuelas y esa formación, a nivel nacional para coordinar mejor, ¿no?, con los trabajos que van a aparecer.
Can you give a little summation?
Yes, about that relationship, right, between schools and the economy, which is so important in Cuba. Right, vocational education at the high school level forms about 50%, 50%, right, of high school age students. So it's a huge part of a young person's training, and then of course there is the college prep track. So what's happening between that formal education preparation and this changing sector?
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. First, okay. Related with the investment, with the small investment in the, okay, yes, we analyze all the interest that many people have to investment in Cuba. Not only in the hotels, not only in there are sectors like agriculture, like mines, like so many issues of the society, even of transportation that we analyze in our mission. In our mission, or even in our embassy in Washington, this is the bilateral assignment here in the United States, because here in the United States we have the embassy in Washington, and we have the mission to the United Nations here in New York. But in Washington is confirming all the bilateral way of the investment or the reason, and they receive the proposal that you have, and in the sector that you do want to make an investment, and they analyze, they send all the information to Cuba, and then they analyze all the possibility that you have the project. See, at this moment, we are no deal with the small investment at this moment, because it's, for example, if you want to invest in the or to bring some in the gas station, one gas station, you have to check what is the proposal. It's not only for one gas station. It's not only for one school in Cuba. We need to deal with all the gas stations, with all the schools in Cuba, because that is the difference. Because the private property and the rest of the society. Because if we want to develop or we want to increase the schools, it's all the schools in Cuba. No, the school is on progress on their own. That is the way. In the health system, we want to increase all the health system, all the educational system. It's different. And for that reason, now we are dealing with the big, with the tourism, with the mines, with the agriculture, because it's not only the agriculture in La Habana or the agriculture in Santiago de Cuba, it's the agriculture in whole Cuba. Because it's that we can give to our citizens. Now wait, related with the immigrations. Okay, you have to think that the very beginning of the Cuban Revolution, 59, 60, most of the people who immigrate from Cuba, they say that they are running away of the socialism because they didn't know what is the socialism. I will tell you that most of these people now, they want to go back to Cuba. The last year we have 13,000 of repatriate, no?
Yeah. 13,000.
To
Really?
Cuba. Yeah. Yeah, because the people wants to return to Cuba. It's safety, it's relaxed. They have the possibility to have a health system that will care. Here, when you return here, I don't know what happened with your medical insurance. I don't know. I believe that it's going to be very hard. No? But well, they do it now. And now, some of the people, have the possibility to travel, like a job contract, to other countries, they stay for 11 months, almost 2 years, they return to Cuba, stay 2-3 months in Cuba, return to their jobs. They can do it. Because now, the people who try to work out of Cuba, maybe to try to, they are for the economic reasons. We are still blockaded. We are still blockaded. That is the one of the issue that, I don't know how, preventa lo malo, biggest issues of the blockade. Eso es algo que our society has to deal every day. But you have to analyze also that we are 11 millions, almost 12 now, of citizens. And what is the percent of represent that the people who travel out of Cuba? I don't know, maybe 3%, 3-4% of the people. The rest of the people is in Cuba. They're working in Cuba. They are doing to do our best. And even the person who travel out of Cuba, they return every year to Cuba. So, and that is the way of the repatriation thing they do. Related with the medicine, in our country. Okay. Okay, it's true that you say that we have we don't have the possibility to increase our medicine, for example, with the knowledge that you have here in the United States. But we create our own health system and our health we develop. For example, in Cuba, in the middle of the blockade, we discovered so many sickness related with the eyes, la poliomyelitis. La poliomyelitis, no, it's the
No, del pulmón.
no, it's the I don't remember. No, it's the okay. We create a vitamin. It's coming
Mácula de
polynutrition. It's for the nutrition of the blindness.
Yeah,
And we discover so many other issues, and we have a very good professional. That they increase their knowledge. They increase the knowledge maybe to with some colleagues on other countries, but in our own country, we increase that knowledge. For that reason, we are, like you say, one of the high levels country in the eye treatment. But not only in the eye treatment, in the cardiologists, in the I don't know if it's a term for the way, in the orthopedic. We have so many good specialists. Now, as you know, we were the first country to declare the no transmission of the HIV, of the SIDA, to mother to son. The first country, and also the syphilis to mother to son. And we have one of the greatest level of die of the kids when they born. It's different. It's something that you have to think. Wow, it's a poor country. It's a third world country. It's a blockade country, and how we can do that? We can do it with we have the people who really care that the society who really care what we can do to be better, and that is the thing that we try to transmit to the rest of to the world. I was in West Africa with the experience of the Ebola. I was there for 8 months. I was first in Sierra Leone and after in Liberia before the doctors. And we analyzed with the WHO, with some medical teams on the field. We analyzed why you can put the IV to the patients. No, because they have Ebola. Well, but it's not the way you can save them. Because if you have a patient who have vomiting, have lose all the fluid from his body, and you give water, please drink water. Take this pill. His body cannot admit that drug medicine. And when the Cuban team arrived to those countries, we started to put the IV to the patients, and we start to save. It's not because we are the superhumans, no? It's because we know that is the reality, what they really need. Because we don't have money to give to that country, but those countries don't need money. They need doctors. They need a person who have care, to take care of them. That's the most important. Yeah, you see, we can control with the rest of the team who work with us, the Chinese team, or even the American doctors, team, the African Union. We can control, but the pandemic. But we have to do it. We have to work with that. We have to teach them. You have to do this, because if you can give a plantain because they lose potassium, and you can give a plantain, they vomit in the plantain. You have to push the IV. It's different. That is the medicine, and we work with some other countries related with the medicine.
She referred to revenue generating from medical services. She was mentioning.
Yeah, related with educación y economía. Okay, we have. Okay, now. We always have we have our universities, and we have we call técnicos medios. It's like a school for a job. It's a job school. In that school, you teach not only economy, In only you teach how to be a carpenter, how to be a plumber, how to be. That is the middle jobs, and they are really important. University men, university women. You need some other person who are really important to build the society, and for that reason, now we have some others. We open a new schools around the country, related with not only with the social, with the work, with the jobs that you need in the society, and they always been there, but now we are increasing because you need it for the rest, and there is economy. Now there are so many jobs, the new jobs in Cuba, but there's no brand new. They're already exist, but now we contemplate in the one list, and we start to create a possibility to study those material, and that is the balance that we made.
Okay, let's go to the end here. Let's do these three here, and we'll come back to this end. Go ahead, you start.
Yes, hi. A short question for Gail and a short question for Rolando. Gail, my wife and I were visiting Cuba in April, and we saw one of your buses in Vergara. I was visiting family in Marianao. I was curious what, I didn't get a chance to take a picture. I was curious what you folks were doing in Vergara. And for Rolando, one of the last things President Obama did before he stepped down was he set up an export license for a gentleman who he was the lawyer who represented the jailed American who was in a Cuban prison. The release, he was negotiated with the Cuban government, the release of this gentleman. And Obama gave this gentleman permission to import an artisanal charcoal, which I understand Cuba exports about 80,000 tons of it to Europe every year. And it's sold in the United States. It's the first time something that said made in Cuba is allowed to be sold in the retail. It's 33-pound bags of charcoal. I was wondering, Rolando, if there have been any other licenses granted, considering that, I don't know if Trump is on board with this, but are there any other licenses coming down the pipeline?
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I have a specific question and a somewhat larger related question. Back in the year 2000, I visited Cuba with the Radical Philosophy Association for a conference of Cuban and North American philosophers and social scientists. And one of the issues that our delegation had conflict about was that Cuba still had the death penalty. And it's been a long time. As I recall, in those days, the justification was maybe, first of all, that Cuba was so threatened by the U.S., they had to be free to execute very dangerous enemies of the state. Also, maybe the economics of keeping someone in prison for life would be very costly and might be more cruel than the death penalty. So my question is, because I'm embarrassed to say I haven't kept up, has Cuba succeeded in abolishing the death penalty? And if so, is there anything our abolitionists could learn from you? And if you still have it, are you any closer to abolishing it? And what kinds of movements and arguments and processes might be engaged? Are you any closer? And regardless of that issue, in the larger field of, say, social issues in particular, how do the people's pressures and resistance get brought to bear? And are there issues like, say, gay rights? Anyway, but I'm specifically interested in the death penalty.
Thank you. And right here.
Right. Okay, finally. Rolando, gracias mil por estar acá. Soy una admiradora de Cuba, estuve en el 86, aprendí muchas cosas, sigo aprendiendo, comparto las ideas, pero estoy para hacer preguntas, no para decirlo, pero la comunicación. Me apena, la preocupación que tengo es que es acerca de la gente en Cuba. Entonces, ¿cuál es el impacto en la vida diaria de los cubanos con el embargo, con estas cosas terribles que hace nuestra administración desde acá? I said that I am glad that Rolando is with us, and that my worry is what happened to the people, the Cuban people, in their which issues impact the Cuban people in the everyday life due to the terrible things that the embargo does to that country.
Thank you. Okay. And Gail, a question also to you too, so you can both comment. Thank you.
Okay. No, it's up to you. Yes, no, it's okay. So very quickly, the buses, yes, we have been, as many of you know, school buses have been a symbol of the caravan since the beginning, 1992. And since 92, it's now 25 years later, there are hundreds of school buses. Most of them are running. There have been some that have had issues, as you can imagine, with spare parts, and so we've had little campaigns to raise money to collect spare parts for some of those vehicles. But they're all over the country, and it's still kind of a kick, you know, as you're driving, you're like, wow, that's one of our buses, and they're very distinctive, you know. They're not regular yellow school buses, one wildly painted, some very artistically painted. But in Vedado, we had a relationship and continue to have a relationship with different groups, but one in particular, the William Carey Baptist Church, which is very close to the Havana Libre and 25th and J.
Stayed there.
You stayed there. You've probably ridden on the bus, maybe.
Blue bus, yeah.
Yeah. Or buses.
No shocks.
Yeah. You got to be ready to do a lot of bouncing around. But that's, I guess, and why you might have seen you said it was in Vidal.
Well, the only place we could get Wi-Fi was Copella, so we were hanging out there a lot.
Yeah. No,
you know, I grew up with the rest of my friends at the school. We wait every year for the caravan. Yeah, because it's like a symbol. It's almost a symbol also. Even now, when I'm older, and I look, I see one of those buses. They say "Pastor for Peace," with the paintings, and there you say, "Wow, it's the caravan." It's amazing because that is a project. It's a Lucius work with Gay's father, and it was amazing. We grew up with this because imagine in the middle of the special period when you see, I don't know, 10, 15 buses with all the people with their flags, say, wow, they're friends, they're Cuban friends, and this is it's amazing for us, even when I was a kid. And to this moment, even when I saw one of them, I remember, wow, I was really younger when I see the first buses, and I say, wow, this is almost 20 years for the first caravan. They're still there every year, and it's really nice, really comfortable for Cuba. Not only the caravan, the Venceremos Brigade, even the May Day group, and all the groups, the solidarity groups that travel to Cuba every year. So that is a way. It's not imagine with no donations. Imagine no donation. Only the thing that you can travel to Cuba, you make a challenge to go there to say, I'm here, and you can count with us. It's important. And for the Cubans, it's really important. It's different. It's also related with the license. I don't have any information related to the new license to export some Cuban products. It might make for in the future for the whole society. It's really important that you can receive here not only food, also so many other products that we have in Cuba that you can use.
Supposedly there is being organized in New York State, actually,
There's a institute in upstate New York that's called the Roswell, I believe, Institute, that has been issued a license, I believe, by Governor Cuomo, where they are working with the Carlos Findlay, which is the state of the world for infectious tropical diseases, and they are marketing some cancer alleviating drugs that hopefully will be on the market, some amazing stuff in New York State and in the United States. That's one of the ongoing
They're conducting
projects.
clinical trials.
Yes.
It's called Roswell Park.
Yes, thank you.
But if you don't have the license, you don't have nothing in your hand.
Right.
It's still, I mean, there's still, you know, it's a step forward. I mean, the fact that you had Cuomo, you know, and different government officials on different levels, you know, coming to Cuba and interested in making those kind of overtures. But you're right. I mean, there's still a long way to go
Yes, you
before
have the
they
license,
think they're actually licensed.
Yeah, we received
But
some
there's still
delegation,
positive steps.
investment delegation, senators, congresses. If you don't have, you don't sign. Okay, now you can pour out sports. Well, something too easy to bring alcohol and Cuban cigars. Now you can travel to Cuba and you can bring to United States all the alcohol and Cuban cigars that you want. Yeah,
Really?
you can bring with your luggage plenty.
Cancer drugs, no.
Yeah. But we can open a store here with Cuban rum or with Cuban cigar. So you have to need the balance. It's impossible. You can bring 16 bottles, but we can sell here in the store one bottle of rum.
Thank you.
Did you want to take up the question of the death
Yes,
penalty that the
yes,
sister
yes.
raised? Okay.
Yes, I would like to say because the lady mentioned the penalty and also the gay and this. Okay, we have in our penal code that there are penalty. Yes, that's in our penal code. But since 1994, we don't sign in Cuba a death penalty. So, and also we don't see the jail, maybe like the other countries see. We see the jails like a step to reform a person to return to the society. We have university in our jail system.
Oh.
We have different levels here. Yes, it's true that maybe if you murder, you made an homicide, you have to be in a level. But the rest of the also other felonies, we work every day without people in order to return to the society. Because when you are into the jail, when you are free, maybe here you want to get a job and you have your record. Maybe your record is for life. And if you want to get a job, you have to pick it up trash. You can be in a level. In Cuba, we erase all the records in 10 years. In 10 years. In 10 years, you erase all the records of the criminal records of the people. Because in 10 years, you spend maybe 2, 3, 4 to the jail. When you return, you have to return to your life. You have to return to your family. And your kids don't have to steal all his life, all their life, say, well, my father was in jail, and where was... No. In 10 years, we erase everything. Even if you return to make a felony, you have to return to the jail. It's in society.
There's also folk who are in jail. I mean, after a certain period of time, they're able to go and be at home, or, you know, to spend part of the time behind, you know, in
Yeah,
prison.
we have
But it is a different, the justice system is very,
Somebody
very.
could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe the last execution that was carried out in Cuba was in 2003. At the time of the Iraq invasion by the United States, and a step up, and there was calls from counter-revolutionaries in the United States to follow up with Iraq. Let's go to Havana. This special period was on, and in that framework, there was a slight uptick of some counter-revolutionary activity. There was a hijacking of a tourist boat that was where a passenger, a worker on the boat, was killed by these three, basically terrorists. In that framework, and in that framework, there was they were executed after a trial, you know, a few weeks later. I don't think there is ever any death penalty for criminal offenses. I believe, like what there are political, you know, and there hasn't been any executions, you know, in terms of even the worst counter-revolutionaries, people that were responsible. They usually, that from the it's usually the maximum sentence, I believe, in the Cuban Penal Code is 30 years. They go to 30 years and they're out, even for crimes like murder. But for it's still on the books.
That is
from
something that within the right, I don't know how to say it in English, in Spanish, es conmutar.
It was a ferry going across Havana Bay that was hijacked, and two people died, and that was the incident.
Right, that's the last.
That was the last one.
2003.
No, it wasn't. Do you remember the?
That was the last.
Yes, that was the last one, because
they hijacked it at the knife point.
It's 94.
And looking at it from the Cuban point of view, they had to stop that immediately, because this could be an epidemic that could turn on among
aimed at destroying the tourism industry.
Exactly. That was the last time.
Just a technical point before we go on.
We have them.
We're scheduled to leave. This is supposed to end at now, but we did go late, so I don't know.
Okay, but I would like to.
No, I'm saying, can we go another 15 minutes? Is that okay with everyone? And we'll take more questions. But we're running out of time.
Okay, we have a person who maybe he's the tribunal, the revolutionary tribunal in the sectors. They decide for the felony, they have the death penalty. But the death penalty is signed by for the government. And they don't sign. We don't sign. We commit the death penalty. Related with the impact of the blockade. Here. El impacto del bloqueo. Eso podíamos estar hablando en español casi toda la vida.
Okay. I think we're going to take one more round. I'd like to try to get everybody that wants a question. Please keep your question or comment to a minute, please. And we'll try to take everybody.
There's still, there was the LGBT question you had.
Well, that was parenthetical.
How people express their opinions or their public pressure by citizens. How that, you know, what that looks like these days, if there is any.
And then the everyday impact of the blockade?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, related with the LGBT. Okay, you have to analyze it that we don't. First, we have a project, as you say. I would like to speak in that way. It's involved with the Minister of Health in Cuba, and the president of that project is the CNSX. It's la doctora Mariela Castro.
Yeah.
Mariela Castro.
Yeah.
And he imports all the. It's not the right. It's the how that you can see in the society the LGBT Q. The QR. And we don't have they make a march, big concentration once a year, and we don't have that problem in our society. For example, you have to analyze. We have some gays, some other persons have their own sexual interest, and they are in highest level of society. they can manage a business, they can do it, they can study with you, and there is no problem for the Cuban. We respect everybody for the, also in the, not only the sexual interest, also in their creencia. They are Catholic, they are Afro-Cuban religion. We respect all the person in the society. Related with the impact of the blockade in Cuba, we suffer every day the impact of the blockade. We can speak really, about that maybe 60 years in reverse that we suffer every year. And we mentioned here, in the economy, in the health system, in the so many issues, in our transportation day by day, because we are working, we are, we say that the Cubans learn how to survive, how to deal with the day by day, to do it well. Because we were talking about here about what we are now with 60 years. Imagine without the blockade. Imagine what we can do in our economy, our system, with the rest of the country of the world without the blockade. Because some people say, no, Cuba is in that way for the blockade. No, we are as we are. No, it's good, but it's not that I feel as we are, because we believe in that, with the blockade and without the blockade. Because we believe in the principle, we believe in the revolution, we believe in the independence, and we believe in the importance to help so many countries, to help the rest of the country. We believe in that. We believe, and we grew up in order to fight for the best society, but not only us. It's for the rest of the country. Because all humans have the same right. And that is the principle that we teach, not even since Carlos Manuel de Céspedes, Ignacio Gramonte, José Martí, Félix Varela, Fidel Castro, todos, all the people who fight and defend the Cuban Revolution and defend the revolution of the world. It's difficult. We have to mention here Malcolm X and Fidel have a very good friendship. But it's a friendship of principle. It's not white or it's black. No, it's a principle. It's the friendship of revolution of principle. Because both of them and the rest of the important person, even Lucius, and the rest of the people, the great people around the world, they love Fidel and they love the Cuban Revolution because it's principle. That's the high levels and everything. And that is the thing that moves. And when you believe in principle, you fight for them.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, do people want to take one? We're going to go another 10 or 15 minutes? Or do people want to end? There's other panels.
No, there are no panels.
No, there are no panels here.
All right, we're going to take, if people want to leave, there's a couple of people that have had their hand up for a long time. I have tried to. Let's take these two sisters over here at the end, and then, and right here, these three, and then that's it.
Okay, real quickly.
Okay, quickly, keep it to a minute.
Sir?
Go ahead.
I just want to say, the sister left, the sister who asked the question about LGBTQ rights in Cuba, that must be understood in the context that a political problem like sexism or patriarchy is best combated with political education. The vehicle for that political education in Cuba was the Federation of Cuban Women. One of the founders was Vilma Espin, the wife of Raul, the sister-in-law of Fidel. And the mother of Mariela.
And the mother Mariela. And one of her campaigns was the decriminalization of homosexuality. The campaign was based on educating the people of Cuba around human sexuality in all of its manifestations.
I'm earning Tate.
Right?
Okay.
So
when people talk about homophobia in Cuba, there's a vehicle to deal with that through the Federation of Cuban Women. And imagine being Vilma Espin organizing against sexism and homophobia in Cuba in spite of the attitudes of some men, including your brother-in-law and your husband. Think about that. I wish the sister was still here to put that in that kind of context, but that's a living legacy about Cuba.
Okay.
When Fidel Castro died, everybody was all on the internet about that, but the sister Adele Hernandez, the first transgender person to be elected to office in Cuba in 2012. This is the kind of history we need to know about Cuba and its many mass organizations. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
There's also the HBO film. We have a call.
HBO film? Okay.
The Mariela Castro's March. That was very good.
Thank you.
Yes, right over here, quickly.
One observation and two questions. One, I was in Cuba in '94 with the Center for Cuban Studies with the second gay delegation that ever went to Cuba. One of the places we visited was the hospital where the people who have HIV and AIDS are. So I'd like to know the status of what's going on with the HIV. Two, I'm sorry the lady left, but she asked a question about alcoholism in Cuba, saying that other people drink more than Cubans, did not answer her question. But I do know from visiting from '94 that after many years of negotiation, the Cuban government did allow Alcoholics Anonymous to go into Cuba. So I was able to go to one of those meetings, and they had a place where had the first aid beds as an inpatient place. So I'd like to know the status of how to deal with that. Three, the zero policy, perhaps the most important thing is the zero tolerance with the war on drugs. Because it's been recognized that the international war on drugs led by the U.S. is only leading to torture, murder of people. And that the Cubans, it's my understanding that in some cases of interdiction of ships, when ships try to get into Cuba with drugs, there is some collaboration with the U.S. ships. So if you have a zero tolerance policy, and some people may actually have gotten the death penalty if they were involved with the drug trade, I'd like to know what you understand the zero policy to mean, and whether it applies to drug trafficking cases.
Thank you. Okay, the very last one right here.
That's a
Quickly.
lot. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot right there.
No, I know it is, but I promise this is the last one, and then we'll do a final round. Quickly.
Just to follow up with what Gail said on the prisons, as I understand it, very often mothers, unless they have committed a heinous crime, get home or are homebound, so that they are jailed at home so that they can be with their children. They have to get permission to go to the store or whatever, but they are with their children. The other comment was on follow up on the LGBT. Yes, the government, everything is equal. To influence the people, one of the ways is through novellas, through soap operas. And the Cuban women, I guess it was the Federation who did it, but they teach the people by observing soap operas. They have a hero who's a gay, like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is respond to these, and then we'll have a final announcement, and then we're going to end. Go ahead, Rolando. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes. Related with the question of the lady question.
Close the door.
Related with your question, with okay, first for the LGBT, as you mentioned, it's true that you say they were represented for the. It's a project, Send Sex, with Mariela Castro, Spin, Vilma Spin, daughter, Saul Castro, daughter. This is, but it's a center who responds to the MINSA, to the Minister of Health of Cuba, and all the LGBT in Cuba have the respect of the society. Oh yes, it's true that we have to maybe to take some new steps in order some other things that they need maybe to bring together, have the marriage or something. but they have the respect of the society. We don't do anything with that. Related with the Los Cocos, we know it's the center of the treatment of the HIV. It's still there. Yeah, we take when the doctors discover a new case of HIV, they remit to that center. But now we have they have a new way to treatment, so they can receive the treatment in their own homes. They go to the hospital, receive the pills, they check it every week to the patient, and they depends if they have problem. The sick is more aggressive with them, so they go to the hospital to receive the treatment. The other question was related with the
Zero tolerance.
on drugs. Okay. Yes. Cuba is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's an archipelago, second island. So it's in the middle from North America and South America, and Central America. So for that reason, so many times that we detect, and also the U.S. Coast Guard, they detect some boats trying to come to the United States or to travel to South America with drugs. So we sign some agreements with the U.S. Coast Guard and with the DIA, in charge to operate against the drugs and the drugs dealers in the zone. If we attract some of these drug dealers, okay, we send it to the country, the regional country, with the reciprocity treatment, and also with the extradition treatment that we have, and also in another case we give to the U.S. Coast Guard. That we don't have zero tolerance with the drugs in Cuba. Any other question?
Okay, before people go, I know some of you might be interested in what can we do now that we've got all this activity. I just want to call people's attention to one thing, and this is the website where you can get more information. Some of you may have known we had a very successful conference, national conference around Cuba in the end of March. This is the website. There's going to be international actions, including in New York, coinciding with the UN vote, the annual vote at the United Nations. In early November, this will probably be demonstrations around the world in solidarity with Cuba, coinciding with this vote to protest the U.S. Continuing embargo and blockade. So look for these dates. They'll be coming out. You'll see it, I'm sure, sent to you. Come out and protest that day. Thank you all for coming, and thank you again to Rolando.